think that's beautiful. Let's talk about your leadership style, right? So when you get into this new role, and leading this organization, and obviously leading a large organization has been in your DNA. You have been doing it for quite some time. So walk us through, from your vantage point, what does a success means to you? I'm curious.
As a leader, I would say, and this kind of ties into kind of the theme of this conversation. Success for me, as a leader, is to make sure that you're leading an organization that feels a strong sense of belonging to that organization, a strong sense of commitment, passion, energy. Because if they do, they're going to do their best work. And if they do their best work, it's going to help drive success for that organization. And I think for a leader to encourage and help develop and lead that effort, it's not just the leader, it's working with everyone in the organization to be able to drive that and to really build a solid culture as a foundation. And then as a result of that culture, having a strong character that organization can stand up to and behind, allows that attraction of great talent, that retention of great talent, and then it ties to success. I think it's important, clearly, for an organization to have a business strategy. And what is it going to take for you to sell successfully in the marketplace what you do, but at the same time to be successful, to have a very tight alignment to that character and that culture. I think it goes hand in hand.
And from your vantage point as a good financial guy coming into this CEO role, so if we look at the market today, and you have been part of publicly traded companies, and there many times they evaluate a company from the bottom line perspective, from the numbers perspective. They're doing healthy, they're not doing healthy. And then I was talking to Tim O'Reilly about this idea of how market has this two kind of standards. So one is, say, company like GE. So if the company is very old school, they are treated differently. They have to really not miss their numbers. They have to keep performing. And then on the other side, if you talk about, say, companies like, say, Netflix and some of those companies who are extremely tech focused, extremely high PE ratios and all that. And then, so when you see today's times where a lot of focus as a leader is going away from, say, hey, okay, financials are good, but it'll be good if the employees are happy and healthy. How do you grapple these two worlds from your vantage point?
Vishal, it's a great question, because I think if you think historically, yes, financial metrics are extremely important. It enables a good metric to determine success, right? What is your business strategy? How do you measure that strategy? And how do you show that you are progressing toward that strategy and those successful metrics? I don't think any organization moves away from that, because I think it's foundational. But I think as society has evolved, let's say even over the last couple of decades, and maybe even more so over the last couple of years, I think, and companies have become much more global in their marketplace. I think the importance of what they do and how they do it is as critical. And it goes back to really, the ability to, in a couple of ways. One, have the organization stand for certain principles. Because I think in the past it was just, if you deliver successful results, that's okay. Yes, it makes a difference. But you also have to make sure that you also stand for certain principles and have a guide to enable you, to direct that in a certain level of direction. I will say both the investment community and customers in particular are looking at metrics outside of financial. When we were going through, and I talk about this in the book, when we were going through our IPO process, yes, everyone was focused on what our business model was and how that growth was going to play itself out, as well as profitability. but we had a large number of investors that were also very diligent in focusing on the culture and the character of Anaplan and doing various due diligence around our culture, around the leadership team, because they understand and appreciate that makes a difference in the end, in addition to the metrics. So that's important. The other thing I think is important is customers are also have different expectations of companies that they do business with. Yes, the product that they buy from those companies is critical, but they also want to understand and appreciate what is the value of the organization that I'm buying from. And if it's a negative perception, they're going to steer away. If it's a very positive perception, as far as what that organization stands for and has been able to demonstrate, not only inside, but also in their communities, it makes a material difference in one, them being a customer, and then also them being an excited and also an expanding customer. And we see that for Anaplan as well. We're a SaaS platform, and when our customers buy into our SaaS platform, we want to see them repeat on an ongoing basis. And if they're going to make a decision to continue to work with us, what we stand for becomes important. It's one of the key attributes, I would say, of Anaplan's success.
Interesting. So, if so, you talked about culture, right? So let's spend a few minutes on the very aspect of culture from your vantage point. So, you're leading an organization, pretty decently sized organization. Culture is a very individualistic phenomena gathered and then aggregated as a whole to create a corporate culture, right? So, so from your vantage point, what role does a leader play when it comes to creating a culture that is acceptable, or creating a culture that thrives in any ecosystem, vis-a-vis like culture from the floormans or from the lowest on the totem poles, right? So bottom up or top down. So when you look at an organization, how do you decipher that?
So first, at a high level, it's both. Culture comes from tops down, but bottoms up, and it's important that it comes in both those directions. And I'll talk more about that. I think a leader has to, first of all, set the framework. What I've seen work in various companies that I've been part of is really laying out that vision, laying out that strategy, and then what is going to be important to be able to execute against that. It establishes the baseline for the business success, but also it needs to also identify a purpose. An organization that has a purpose allows a connecting point for the people in that organization to connect to, not only just with the vision and the strategy, and that the purpose should be aligned to that vision and the strategy. From there, culture comes from values. The values that the organization, not just the leader has to demonstrate those, but the organization has to feel a sense of connection with those values. What I found work at Anaplan and other organizations, and I'll specifically talk about Anaplan, is that the people within the organization need to participate actively into what those values are, and then what the behaviors are that demonstrate success around those values. And at Anaplan, when I joined several years ago, we embarked on that, right? To say, okay, what are those critical values? We opened it up to everybody in the organization, and we had 67% of the population volunteer to participate in work sessions around input and discussion and debate around those values. And we came away with a set of values that was not determined by me or the leadership team, but it was determined by the company that make up the organization, along with those behaviors. And we've lived with those values and those behaviors since. Yes, they will continue to evolve and be adjusted, but as long as you have that active, tops down, bottoms up, and continued engagement, is where it becomes most successful.